Alright, so in part 1 I cover this stuff here where I'm talking about different hairstyles, how to look at them in a three-dimensional form, wireframes, etc. And I cover pretty much how you can use silhouette to emphasize the different shapes. And in part 2 I take these and take them to color and kind of show how to do this cool little effect to have buzzed hair. And alright, let's get into it. If you've ever wondered how to draw hair, you might come across these situations where you're like, I'm not a hair cutter person. I don't run a hair salon. So this video is going to cover some different hairstyles you can do. I'm going to kick it off with female hairstyle. We're just going to start with short hair. Yeah, why not? Okay, let's see. Here we go. So short hair. That's what we're going to do. Okay. First, I'm just going to draw a little head. Something like this so that we can have something to work on top of. Okay, we have a head. Alright, now what? One thing you gotta think about for, well, really, when you're designing anything is the silhouette. So, let's say you have a short haircut in mind and you're like, oh, well, you know, it's gonna be, you know, just above the shoulders or something. And she's gonna have bangs to here. But if your silhouette is like that, I mean, yeah, it works, but it's kind of absurd and cartoony and silly and stuff, but it's just like it's kind of weird. So what I would recommend is establish the ability to come up with a decent silhouette by understanding shape design, shape language. And so we're gonna go with those same parameters. So it's gonna be like, you know, short hair, some kind of bangs or something, and I'm gonna go ahead and draw some shapes in. And what I'm thinking about when I'm doing this is I want to frame her face. So anything that you're designing, especially with character design, you want to sort of pick a focal point, and in this case it's going to be her face, and you do everything you can to either frame it or emphasize it or make it you know, look better. So yeah, okay, I'll just draw this out and then I'll talk about what I did and why I did it. Oh, that's all on one layer. Dang. Okay, whatever, it's fine. When I'm drawing that, I'm also thinking of 3D form. So let's say this is her, well, let's just draw a cylinder, right? And we'll say that that's her head. We'll round it off at the top because we know, heads are round, so we'll just do that. There's the jaw, etc. But I'm imagining that this hair is also has form. So let's lower the opacity of the head. And so if we think about this in a three-dimensional way, so if it's a wireframe, I'm trying to replicate what I already drew on the left, it sort of has this thing going on. So there's like a point in the middle at the top. And if you think of it like like the longitude and latitude lines on a Earth globe, or planet, or whatever, you kind of understand that there's going to be different directions and normals, because a normal is like when you have a polygon in 3D space, it's pointing at a certain way, and as they wrap around the another shape, it'll point different ways, and because of that they'll either catch light or not catch light. And so you can say that these shapes catch light. I mean, they don't catch light, or they do, but they don't catch the highlight, right? But these shapes do not. And then of course you can abstract it, and like I did this thing on the left which has that cool shape, but the idea is that it's because it's catching a highlight. But you can fake it, but when you understand a 3D form like this, it's far more effective. So if we were to draw right on top of this, the 3D kind of wireframe, this piece, or we can kind of break them down into, you know, components. So we got like the bangs. So yeah, it's really important to understand the form, because although I'm not drawing this wireframe every time I draw hair or draw anything, I'm feeling it out, and so I'm aware of it. And it just so happens that the direction of these wireframe lines can also imply the direction of the hair, and you can group it together. And if you've seen my other video where I talk about ribbons, it is the same concept. And if you see, as I go to the top, the lines curve upward, or because I'm implying perspective. Let's try another hairstyle. Alright, so still short hair, and there's this style that I really like. I think it's kind of referencing, what's it called? The Professional. So there's a Natalie Portman. So if here's the side of the head, it's got like this really nice shape to it. It's very kind of angular, and it has like this really nice graphic quality. And so again, so I understand the shape of it, and from there I can establish the silhouette and then move forward and trying to make the stuff. Anyway, let me just adjust that, and then let's make it higher. And it's like once you once you have a base, right? You have a silhouette. You can edit it as if you are the hair designer, as if you're actually cutting somebody's hair. All right, so yeah, it's obviously a bit stylized because this space here is obviously way too long, but it looks cool, and that's what shape design allows you to do. So we're gonna take this idea and kind of try to draw it onto this lady here. So it's kind of that high, so where's that? It's just under the mouth, so let's go ahead and draw a line there so we know where it goes. And I'm angling it downward because I don't want it to be like this. It would kind of feel boring. Remember, the more diagonals you have in a design, the more dynamic your design will be. And so it comes down something like that. It goes around. And here's also another trick when you're drawing hair. One mistake would be to draw it really flat onto the scalp, and then it feels kind of weird. I would encourage you to add a bit of padding, so because hair does have thickness, even if it is flat. Allow some space to exist between the scalp and the actual hair. All right, so something like that. And of course the bangs come like this, and on the other side we're going to imply that there's that happening because it's symmetrical. One thing I remember I was doing a children's book with Dylan Cole, and I was doing a lot of the characters, and it was like a kind of Pixar-esque, not realistic but not super cartoony, and oftentimes I would do a character and send it in, and he'd be like, yo, it looks like they're just wearing a flat helmet. And so from that experience I realized you have to add variety to the edges of the hair, because if it's like perfectly flat and smooth, unless it's like part of your graphic design, it feels weird. So what I'd recommend is like draw little strands of hair coming out like this, and maybe in the front side just a couple going like that. They're the really like subtle small changes that you can make, but it really makes all the difference. And so for the bangs, it's like, okay, well, we have a straight line, but you can make it a bit more interesting if you cut it and imply that there's a separation there. And even to add to that, you can, instead of having a straight line, you can sort of add more of these little indications of hair breakup. And of course we strayed from the perfect straight line from this, but that's the whole point of design. Through iteration you kind of come up with different things and stuff. So for the wireframe for this one, same thing. It's like you just have like a point at the top, and it comes down like this, and you start to pick up on the form of it. And of course this gets far more complex when you start introducing things like buns, like something back here, or like braids that kind of intertwine and all that crazy fun stuff that you might find for elf hair, because they do like braids and they, whatever. So yeah, now that we understand the form, if we were to light it, the highlight would be on these polygons And if there's another light source, like coming from here, you know, these polygons would start to pick up light too. And so, yeah, so if you'll notice that I'm shading with this black, but I'm also going along those imaginary longitudinal, or latitudinal, longitude? The straight up and down ones, those. So it's like I'm, you know, following that as I'm shading it. Because if your shading lines follow that, it will start to imply the form and the perspective all for you. And the darker the hair, the trickier it is to add highlights, because it's, even though this is a highlight here and it, you know, seems brighter than black, we could draw this over here and it looks like super dark gray. So when you're doing highlights on black hair, you have to you know, take the black and you just make it a little bit brighter, and it's like, you know, somewhere around here. And of course it's different in different lighting situations, but yeah. Also, if you're putting a highlight and it's wrapping around the head, that gets tricky. But the more you pay attention to these things in real life, the more you sort of add to your mental library of how to design and how to use highlights and all that jazz. And so yeah, that's kind of that's another one. I'm gonna take a little bit further. One thing I should mention is when I was drawing this hair onto her, I was maintaining a similar design language throughout. So if you notice a lot of angularity on her face, so we have like this angle, right, and then this angle, and then that, and that. I sort of tried to reflect that also within the subtleties in the hair design. So this part of the hair, I made it go like that, sort of to reflect the nose. Here as well, a lot of angularity here and there, and even in the highlights, like if you keep in mind like these subtleties, you and then you sneak them into like different places of your illustration, people don't notice them right away, but you know why it's all being held together, and it works really well. Let's try another one. So again, when I'm looking at this, although I just drew this big curve, I'm visualizing the shape of the head in three-dimensional form. So let's try another short hairstyle. If we analyze this one, we can see that I made the silhouette kind of jaggedy, so you have this kind of zigzagging shape language on the silhouette, but it's contrasted against like this round, almost straight, well, you know, uninterrupted line work to an extent. But what that creates is a sense of contrast, because you have areas of rest and then like activity, and this activity is kind of exciting, and it's peculiar because all these things point to her face in a weird way. Not a weird way, it's just that's just the way it is. Anyway, so this is another hairstyle, and basically it's if you have the head, so first, what's going on, what is that, and we were to lower the opacity. The basic simplification of this hairstyle is round on the top, jaggedy stuff on the sides. But of course the bangs. So the bangs also help lead the eye, and this is where you can make the choice of symmetry, asymmetry. It's nice when you have asymmetry. So you like either pick the right or the left, and you go from the top of the forehead and you bring it down like that. And like I mentioned earlier, try to break that silhouette by having stuff, pieces of hair come out like this. Yeah, the more you practice that, the more effective and believable your hair drawings will be, your drawings of hair. And also, like, when you do practice this and you get good at it, it can apply to not only just stylized cartoony stuff, but even if you're doing realism, it's a similar concept where you have silhouette as the main read, and it sort of acts as like a great foundation for the rest of whatever it is that you're drawing. Let me just do that. Alright, so in part 2 of this that you can find in the link, I talk about a whole bunch of different things and how I choose the colors of the different things, and I did like a red hair, blue hair, I think a kind of blonde-ish hair, so and I kind of like went ahead and painted and rendered out all the other stuff. So if you want to support me and continue to check out how to do stuff, feel free to check out the link. I also I talk about a lot of the other things in there because I like have these random thoughts and ideas about like if you're curious about anatomy in this part, yada yada. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. I do plan to do more. I think my favorite one out of this was the final one was with the blue hair. I was like, pretty cool. I was trying to come up with like kind of a punk-ish hairstyle, and I kind of threw in a background in there. All right, well, hope you enjoyed it, and adios. Click. Maybe like she's messy. She doesn't care that her hair is a mess. She just woke up, she's going to school, but she doesn't care about how she looks because she just wants to go to science class and just own everybody at metaphysics or quantum mechanics.